Hi, it's Rob from Brightspot, and I wanted to make a really short film on the subject of how charities or fundraisers can create inspiring events or webinars to help their supporters get more connection and more inspiration to support their cause. And I guess my first point is, even though at the moment it's likely to happen virtually via some kind of webinar technology, right from the start, I wouldn't think of it as being a webinar, because webinars will sound boring and uninspiring to you and everybody else. Right from the start, define it by the experience you want people to get from this event rather than the technology, the channel by which you're communicating it. So right from the start, think of it as a virtual project tour. Or there's an environmental organization I interviewed who've been running some really successful roundtable events where people can get access to and discuss key environmental issues with their leaders. So right from the start, how you position this to yourself and others will affect, I think, how well you execute the project. Secondly, I would say that it's really important to get clear on what the purpose is. Whilst it is true that a few organizations have been making financial asks during and at the end of one of these events. And there's one that I cite in my ebook, Power Through the Pandemic, that has been getting good financial results. On the whole, my advice is this tactic lends itself better to a relationship building purpose rather than one which makes income for your charity during the event itself. So my key advice, use it to create more conversations, albeit virtual conversations, both during the event and to set up follow-up conversations between you, the fundraiser, and the supporters, rather than see the success of this event as how much money did we raise through the asks that we made at the event. The third thing I would say is understand that people will be showing up as much for the sense of connection and feeling close to your charity and to leaders of your charity, or to the frontline people doing the work for your charity, as much as for the more intellectual things they might say they're joining for in terms of the content and finding out about your strategy. The connection and involvement is a key part of this recipe. Understand that that's one of the key things you're bringing to people if they join this kind of an event, and therefore you're more likely to give that experience of connection and community and involvement to them. Fourthly, if you want people to show up and for your colleagues to get excited about it, I would make sure you think carefully about how you name it. Following on from what I just said, there's one animal charity I interviewed for my ebook that calls their webinar series an inside scoop with, and then each event is an inside scoop with a different expert within the organization. You might equally include in the title the identity that your supporters have or want by supporting your organization, and signal that desired identity to them. So for instance, there's a well-known cancer charity I know of that has a giving club, a patrons club called the Catalyst Club. So they're signaling to people who want to think of themselves as catalysts, this is the club for you. In what way might you signal a particular identity that your kind of supporter aspires to or has, and that helps them know that this is the kind of event that they should be showing up to. Or indeed, make sure you include a desirable feeling or indeed experience in the name of the event. Crucially, I'm saying, don't give it a boring internal focused title. Get insight into your supporters, how they think and why they support you, and signal and respond to those ideas in the name of the event or the strapline of the event. And then the last thing I was going to say is, if you are going to do one of these and you're the fundraiser, don't do all the project managing and then step back. If we're agreed that a key objective the event is meeting is for you to warm up relationships and get closer relationships and have more conversations with your supporters, then do your utmost to be involved. I really recommend that you chair the event. You don't have to be the subject matter expert, but if you're the initial face that welcomes people on and explains how it's going to work, and explains that you're going to be able to help with follow-up questions after the event and so on. And then you introduce your chief exec or your head of programs or something. All the while you're doing that, you're positioning yourself as an important contact to your supporters, and you're increasing the likelihood that they know you and will come back to you and want to talk to you again to get help to do with supporting this organization. There's again an animal charity that I interviewed for the book, and you can listen to my podcast as well when I talked to Linda from this animal charity. She said she's got fabulous results by organizing this virtual event series, because right from the start, when she emails people to invite them to the event, she's saying, if you've got any questions, do let me know. And people are emailing back wanting to talk to her. And she tells a really powerful story of someone wanting access to recording of the event after it, although that wasn't possible. She said, sorry, that's not possible. But then the donor, who previously she'd not been able to set up a chat with for 18 months, the donor was really keen to set up a conversation with Linda following that event, and all because right from the start, Linda was positioning herself in a proactive way in organizing the webinar. And the very last thing I would say is, this might be the first time your organization is doing an event like this. So initially, consider it a pilot. Know from the start that you're going to be learning a lot. But I really think your medium-term plan should be to run a series of these, not least because you'll learn a lot on the first time, and then the second one will be twice as good. But also, if you study the work of people like Grant LeBoff, who's a brilliant modern-minded marketeer, in this day and age, even before the pandemic, the organizations that do best are those that are proactively and relatively regularly creating content that in and of itself is interesting, useful, desirable to our supporters or customers. And if you can just do the first one of these, prove to yourselves that you can do it and that it works, then start a series of these events happening once a month or whatever it might be. Then you will have something attractive which causes people who care about your topic to want to come forward and find out more, and do so more than once. And the more you're doing that, A, you're attracting people towards your organization. B, the ones that already know you a bit, by the time they've attended 2 or 3 of these events, they will be feeling so much closer and more inspired by your cause. So those are 6 top tips if you're considering organizing some kind of inspiring virtual event for your high value supporters. If you want more of these kinds of tips and ideas, then you could download my free ebook, Power Through the Pandemic. Or if you want to go deep, get lots of help in the implementation as well as the theory, then the Bright Spot Members Club is our online training and inspiration site for fundraisers. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of video training courses in there that I've created with other expert fundraisers. There are downloads. Twice a week we do problem solving and coaching calls for members of the club. They're getting some fabulous results at the moment. Many of the stories I'm sharing in my books at the moment are coming from the great results that those members are getting. If you're curious, if you want to give it a try, then there's a special offer we've never done before. If you join between now and Tuesday, the 19th of May, you can get your first month access to all of this training, support and inspiration for just £5. So do click on the link, use the coupon code high5 to get access to that better deal, just to try it out. If that is not for you, then I understand that. But nevertheless, I hope that this short film might just inspire you to be more deliberate about setting up some kind of inspiring event. Equally, you could just check out my podcast episode on this subject, which gives you a little more depth as well. Best of luck with your fundraising. Stay safe. Goodbye.